Innes, thank you for your time. Do you have a comment on Jane Hurt-Licker?
Well, I think what Jane was making the very clear point, Alan, that we cannot stay closed forever, but there are risks in opening, and we all know that. There's risks every day as we go about our lives. But the fact is that once we get more people vaccinated, we will be in a better position to open up, and we should open up. I think what came as a surprise to a lot of people in the business community and in the broader community, maybe not so much to me, was that the government said, we're not going to open until at least June 22. That's a year away at best. And tying a nexus back to the budget, we can't go on like that, sort of walled off from the world. One in 5 jobs in Australia depend on trade. We're seeing huge shortages of goods coming into Australia because we're not having planes come into Australia, where 90% of our trade comes from. We're missing out on big economic benefits. And the longer that it goes, Alan, the more cut off we'll become, the more we will be forgotten about or pushed to the bottom of the queue when it comes to global investment and global trade.
You're 100% correct. I mean, you made a simple point. You made the simple point. We risk winning the health battle but losing the economic war. I mean, these are the biggest trade barriers, you've made this point, that we've ever faced. And I've got any amount of epidemiological evidence.
Self-inflicted.
Yeah, self-inflicted. And epidemiological evidence that lockdowns, as you've said, are not the answer, either short or long term.
Well, this is the international view as well, Alan, and I was talking with some senior people from the International Monetary Fund last week, and they were somewhat taken aback. They were actually shocked that Australia was continuing with this policy because they see that we have to open up to the world to get our economy moving again. We do have some growth going at the moment, but that's all pent-up demand, and we're not going to get back to where we were pre-pandemic for some time yet, and it will take even longer if we stay locked away. So we do need to get our economy moving. We've got 250,000 jobs unfilled in Australia at the moment. We've got to think about how do we fill them. We've got big labour shortages, skilled labour shortages. That's the sort of thing we've got to turn our mind to. So yes, there is always going to be risk, but we need to start to map out how we open. That's the key point here. We don't have a plan.
When this happens, Innes, is the government then going to tell us which countries we can visit? They'll be safe countries. I mean, what the hell? Are we heading towards a vaccine passport where people will be denied certain freedoms if they haven't been vaccinated?
Well, probably that, unfortunately, Alan, is going to be what will occur because the other point we've been making and talking to other global business organisations is that at some point we are going to need ways to get people going around the world. So there will need to be some sort of way of saying if you've been vaccinated or not and vaccinated or not, and then assessments on risk can be made. We seem to be losing a little bit of freedom of choice in all of this, but that's what it'll come to. And look, the fact is that we are opening up through travel bubbles. New Zealand started, we would hope Singapore would be next, Japan, South Korea, those sort of countries, and those very important economies.
Is there a political component here that allow this to roll on because coronavirus fear has been winning elections? So therefore let this roll on through the summer and then we call it an early election next year in March, call it at the end of January. The power of the pandemic incumbency, Innes.
Well, it's a good point, Alan, and only one person knows when the next election will be, and that's the Prime Minister. But our point is that we can't afford to wait forever. And at the moment, we're sort of being told that we have to wait forever. There is no plan, there's no pathway forward or out of this. And we have hundreds of thousands of jobs that are reliant on trade and are reliant, obviously, on trade-related commerce and tourism and the like. And those sort of businesses now in those areas are now starting to really feel the pip squeak and are saying that we need to find a way forward here. So all we're saying is, OK, state premiers and federal government, if the pathway is 70% of people be vaccinated, that's it. Say that and stick to it, and then let's work from there. But at least give business the hope that the borders will reopen. Last point, Alan, all through this, state business have been complaining about state borders, biggest problem they've ever had. They're now turning their attention to national borders and that's becoming equally as big a problem.
Good on you. Well done. Keep at it. Keep at it. We're getting some debate, and eventually you'll chip away. Well done. Good to talk to you, Innes. Anytime here on the program.
Great. Thanks, Alan.
Innes Wilkins is Innes Willox. And to you, Jane Herdlicker, hang in. The public hate these pylons.